Yeah, I feel like we are just at the tip of the iceberg in terms of the impact that our leadership focus will have on the rest of the school. Uh, we've just begun trying to take some of the concepts that we've been studying and begin to transfer that knowledge or that learning to our teams within our divisions and departments. I can tell you that I've been part of my growth and my learning. One of my goals has been to really step out there and learn publicly. And I've been blown away by the receptivity of my team to my sharing, just in little bits and pieces. With for every 5 minutes that we've taken towards this topic of leadership, I've received probably, you know, triple that in response after a meeting of people just thanking me um, for teaching, thanking me for sharing, thanking me for giving space and time for their growth. I think we have a lot of folks, and this is true probably in schools, you know, the world over, but we have a lot of people who come into positions from the classroom because of the job that they've been doing in their previous role, and there's an assumption that they are going to figure out how to do this this next thing well. And there's been, I think, a great relief on the part of a lot of my leadership team that they too can be vulnerable and they too can grow. And there is some help, some direction, some assistance in how to do that. So it's opened up already a lot of conversation. Folks have sought me out after the fact just to kind of talk through some of what's on their minds. And again, I feel like we're just beginning. And I'm hearing and sensing that same excitement across other divisions and departments. So we've got a long way to go. And I'd also just note that we attract very talented, ambitious faculty. So having the muscle built up that allows that takes the ceiling off of their growth, and also doesn't necessitate titles and positions to allow them to continue to grow professionally. I think that has great potential and promise for strengthening the school overall long term.
Well, it's interesting because I'm a pretty open person with respect to um, discussing behaviors or discussing challenges, and similarly with discussing successes. So, with that in mind, I think it was tough on the team before if I would remind them of something or, ask them about something that hadn't gone well. It just felt like I was reprimanding them. But I think that now they understand that the reason that we're reiterating things that we fail, and I share my failures as well, uh, and ask the same of them. And I think now they're getting to understand that the goal is larger than anyone's individual set of feelings. And the goal is that the greater process works more smoothly and that the greater process serves us all. And I hope, at least that's what I hope they're getting from it. An interesting thing, we were talking about the meetings, and, I kind of wander around like this when I'm talking, and I think it was frustrating for the people, and so the staff. And so one of them said to me, these meetings are just so tough to follow. And I was like, well, then you lead the meeting because I'm not good at that, right? And that was fine. So, that kind of ongoing thing. And in fact, I'm glad I said that because we need to make sure they do it for tomorrow's meeting. But the concept of we did strength finders to figure out really where people's strengths were. And so what that meant is that if I'm really good at setting a tone in a meeting, when people come into a tour or whatever, then I can duck in, do that one thing, and then go back out. Or if Kristen's really good at following up with families, so we're trying to, what we did was we sat down and we went through strength finders, and then we divided up all the duties in the office. And we said, You're good at this. Julie is an incredible logistics guru. Okay, everybody else, do not touch the interviews because you're messing her up. And the ability for people to feel good about owning a function within the office. I mean, every day we all have to work together for a myriad of reasons. But the belief that there's not a hierarchical structure to the office, but that there really is a matrix that says, I got this, but I need y'all to know what I'm doing. I have this, but I need y'all to know what I'm doing. So if one of us has to step in and help, that's been really good. And so the other day we were outlining the process for what we're going to do when paper comes in. And I will tell you, Bob, it's very different than when we were over in Presley Hall. We have all this space, but last year, and when I say really tough, it was tough. We moved in the middle of when all the paper came in. And so our physical structure over there was totally different. And so because of that, you kind of knew what was going on. We get over here and we're double doing the work. We're checking off stuff 3 times and missing other stuff that didn't get checked off. And it threw our whole season into a really tough place. This year I had Kimberly and Julie to work for a long time on kind of how the thing was going to work. And I said, if y'all can't explain it, it's probably not going to work. So we worked on it for a little while. They explained it. Okay, well, how are you going to do that? Well, wait, we should get some baskets. Okay, go get them and come back and talk to me. They go get the baskets. Okay, we go through it. All right, well, how are you going to know this? Okay. And so just working together with everybody understanding the goal is not to be punitive for anybody. The goal is to minimize the overhead for everybody. And they are really pressing and growing. And most importantly, I think being open and honest about what they don't like or do like. And that's important. It really is important.
Team.
Well, I've seen the work that we've done over the last year and a half. I think I think the value for me has been less in the theoretical and less of kind of the nuts and bolts of what we're learning and more learning this together. And learning to fail together and getting to know each other and again developing those relationships that as I mentioned with any team of young men or young women, I really think that when it comes from the heart and when relationships are at the center of your development, I think that's when you are going to grow and so the time that we've spent together, whether it's been through critical friends groups or time with Nick Petrie, time outside of formal meeting settings, it really starts to develop that trust of each other and the ability to open up to each other. And I see that as the greatest benefit to where we are going to go.